Hello and welcome to the 5th Annual Girl Hero Awards presented by PacSun. I'm Monique Coleman, and I am so excited to be here to host this spectacular event and celebrate some truly impressive girl heroes, the icons, trailblazers, and movement builders of our time. Before we get started, join us in the event chat where you can connect with viewers from all around the world. But please chat responsibly and be sure to follow Girl Up's safety and security policy, so don't share any personal information. We want everyone to enjoy the event today and be safe. As a Girl Up champion, I've had the privilege to connect with many Girl Up leaders over the years. I've seen firsthand the transformative work that they're doing in their communities, at home, and around the world to build a better world for all of us. So I am thrilled to get the chance to honor 4 of those youth leaders today, alongside incredible trailblazers for gender justice, founder and CEO of Phenomenal Media, and #1 New York Times best-selling author Meena Harris, and actress and changemaker Thuso Mbedu. Girl Up leaders are extraordinary young people in their own right, already empowered and working for generative change, crucially self-aware and compassionate. They lead with thoughtfulness and intentionality, knowing that advancing the movement for gender justice begins with the practice of intersectionality, not just the thought. And that when our nuanced identities and lived experiences all have a seat at the table, we can bring down the house and rebuild a more inclusive and equitable future by girls for girls. During our event, you're going to hear from Girl Up youth leaders in India, Malawi, Mexico, and the United States. Their thoughts and insights are gained from their extraordinary commitments to issues like education access, environmental justice, equal opportunities for people with disabilities, and ending the global issue of period poverty that so many young people navigate today. Saundarya, Promise, Esmeralda, and Ilinca. These kids aren't just all right, friends. They are powerhouses, and they're here today to generously share their prowess with us. Now, we couldn't highlight the monumental work of these Girl Up heroes today without the support of tonight's presenting sponsor, PacSun. Supporters like Kylie Schuyler and our event co-chairs, Shelmina Auji, Nigel Barker, Emerald One, Ellen Goldsmith-Vane, Kathy Reed, Sean Robinson, Pamela Rowland, Tracy Schaefer, Leslie and Michael Thorne, and Tina Wells. Thank you all for all of our supporters for making this incredible event possible. Now, I would love to introduce some of those supporters. Please welcome to the virtual stage from PacSun, President Brianne Olson and Senior Director of HR, Hope Milligan, to share with us the impact supporting girls and women can create across communities.
Welcome everyone to Girl Up's 5th Annual Girl Hero Awards. PacSun is thrilled to support Girl Up as a presenting sponsor.
Today's events highlight the importance and impact of girls and women leading the way on gender justice. I know we both have our own girl heroes that have made an impact on our lives. For me, I would have to say that yes, it is my mother. She has inspired me throughout my career and supported me, and also inspired me to be the best person that I can be today. How about you, Brie?
My girl hero is Indra Nooyi, former CEO, mother, and author of My Life in Full. Her transformational leadership style, championing vulnerability, courage, and confidence, as well as integrity for women in the workplace, has proven to be incredibly inspiring for me. Her main mantra is to come as your entire self every day into the workplace. Hope, we've been inspired and motivated by the girl heroes in our lives, and I can't wait to hear from the incredible, innovative girls and women we are honoring here today and all that they have accomplished.
At PacSun, we share Girl Up's vision that girls are a force for social good. We know that when inspired youth use their voices and are given the platform and resources to create change, they work to develop a more just and equitable world for all of us. A world that understands the importance of using our voices, platforms, and resources to inspire and bring about positive developments in both our own backyards and around the globe. That looks to transformative girl heroes like the ones we're going to hear from today. We are already leading the way forward on the world's most pressing issues and intersecting crises.
PacSun recognizes the need for brands to also take the lead on bringing about positive development in our local and global communities. And we're doing that through our brand partnerships, engagement, and programs at PacSun like Pac Eco, Pac Denim, and Pac Cares. As a fashion brand catering to a diverse and inclusive young audience of consumers, we recognize how active and passionate young people are about using their voices and power to affect change. That's why we're focusing on some of the issues you care most about, like anti-racism, sustainability, and gender justice. Together, we can have a positive impact on our world, and so much of that starts here today with girl heroes like you in our audience, and those of you who we are honoring today.
As our event theme reminds us, girls are the heroes we deserve, and they're already here.
We are so excited to hear from our 2022 Girl Hero honorees and know that we're all going to leave today's event with an even stronger commitment to building a better tomorrow. Stay tuned.
PacSun delivers an exclusive collection of brands and styles to next-gen consumers through exclusive partnerships with the world's most coveted brands. Our customer-centric, creative team members deliver results. PacSun is passionate about creating an inclusive community that promotes a lifestyle of diversity and community involvement. Sustainability is an initiative we're highly focused on as we continue to push forward as a company. We're committed to not only inspiring, but enacting positive change in fashion through programs such as Pac Eco and Pac Denim for a better tomorrow. While continuing to collaborate with globally relevant brands, creators, and celebrities, we're also determined to create meaningful, inspiring, and culturally relevant experiences in both the physical space through partnerships and events and the digital space through multi-channel engagement. When it comes to technology, PacSun is on the forefront of the digital revolution. The next generation consumer can engage with the brand in familiar spaces such as AI and social media, as well as through new and innovative technology such as cryptocurrency, social commerce, and in the metaverse. Join the family. Be a part of the PacSun community.
Thanks, Brianne and Hope. As I mentioned a few moments ago, we have an incredible lineup of truly inspiring leaders joining us tonight. Our Girl Hero honorees were all selected for their activism and passion for gender justice. And they're each already making a difference in their communities and fields, pushing boundaries and carving out their own journeys as the transformative leaders of today. Girl Up believes in the expansive power of cross-issue, intergenerational global work, and that when we create a space for meaningful conversation with one another, our goal of achieving gender justice worldwide is within reach. With that in mind, we're going to do things a little bit differently tonight. We're going to divest from the usual scripts and acceptance speeches of award shows, and instead make room for our honorees to talk to each other and to you, exploring some of the issues that they care most about. I know I'm excited to hear what they have to say and what these conversations will generate for you. So let's get started. Please join me in welcoming Girl Up youth leader Victoria from Malawi to introduce our first pair of honorees. Take it away, Victoria.
Hi everyone, I am so privileged to introduce our first pair of Girl Hero honorees tonight, Thuso Mbedu and Promise Chibeta. I am lucky enough to get to work with Promise Chibeta as the Vice President of Girl Up Aspire Club. I have seen firsthand dedication that Promise shows to her community and activism. Promise is very passionate about education advocacy, women and girls empowerment, healthcare, and period poverty ending initiative. When she sees a problem in our community, she tries her very best to fix it, and will use her talents for storytelling and building movements to do just that. She is a role model to many in our Girl Up community, and I am thrilled to get to honor her work tonight. Our second Girl Hero honoree is Thuso Mbedu. Thuso Mbedu is an award-winning actress that has starred in groundbreaking productions across the continent, like the acclaimed film The Woman King. She is a force for gender justice through her thoughtful and boundary-pushing storytelling. She brings her authentic self to her roles, and we all can't help it but be inspired by Thuso Mbedu. Thuso Mbedu is now taking that storytelling argument behind screens through a production deal with Paramount to create socially conscious programming. She is pushing boundaries and making her voice heard like a true girl hero. We all know that powerful stories shape the way the world, and Tuso uses her unique perspective to show us new factors of human experience. Now, please join me in welcoming Promise Chibeda and Tuso Mbedu as our girl heroes tonight.
Thank you very much for that amazing introduction. And I really look forward to talking to you today, Tuso, and to just learn more about your work and what you're inspired mostly about. So, I'm just gonna get into it. You get to tell so many stories of a variety of characters as an actress. How do you get into these complex characters that can be so meaningful to many people, like your character from Underground Railroad or The Woman King?
So I think for me, it could be a pro and a con. I'm very picky about the type of work that I do. I've had, conversations with my directors in the past where I ask them, oh my gosh, I'm not working right now. Am I being too picky? But, they encourage me because I'm intentional about the projects that I do. I need them to be impactful, and I need them to spur others and for people to see a change, a practical change that they can apply in their everyday lives, right? And that can look like different things. This doesn't mean then, I only do serious roles, which maybe are in the drama space, that you get people crying all the time. Like The Woman King, people enjoy it because it's lighter than the Underground Railroad. Underground Railroad made you do a lot of introspection. It was heart wrenching. The performances were so deep. The subject matter was so heavy. The Woman King as well deals with a heavy subject matter, but in a lighter way. It's a film that you can genuinely enjoy, but it has people reflecting. Like right now, we're getting feedback, from audiences at large about how they feel after watching The Woman King. They feel empowered. They feel fearless. They feel like there's nothing that they cannot do. And that's what I aim to do with my work. I want people to see themselves in the characters that I can take on and see how they can then go out into the world and make an actual change.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I think you're doing a very good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm trying my best at every turn. Okay, then. But with you, so the extent of the impact of that your advocacy has created is absolutely incredible, and you've done it at such a young age. You know, while many young other advocates wish to create social change, they might not always know where to start. So can you share with us and, with fellow young change makers, some advice on ways to advocate for gender justice in their own communities?
Well, I would say it can be pretty hard when you're a young person just trying to put your ideas out there, because everybody will be like, maybe you're too young to do these things. We can listen to you because you're very young. But what I can tell my fellow youths is that we should just get involved when there's several activities that are going on in our communities. We should always take part and just be there, even if you're not having like a big role. Just you being there, just it makes a difference. And when you also need to be talking to different people. Don't just choose that, okay, maybe because I stay in this type of neighborhood, I should only speak to people in my neighborhood, or I go to this school, that means I should only talk to the students at that particular school. So you just associating yourself with different different people, different youths from your community is also one way of getting engaged, and how one way a step of um, your advocacy journey. And another thing can also be that you need to be confident in what you're doing and what you're saying. when people see that you're passionate about something, that's when they begin to get interested in the things that you're doing. That, okay, maybe we should try and listen to this person, because they're always there, and that it shows that they're really motivated um to do a different to bring difference in their communities. And lastly, I'd say, telling stories. Storytelling is really powerful, and it's something that you use it as well in your acting. And I think when you're telling your story, when you're sharing your story with others, other people can relate to what you're saying, and then they'll see where you're coming from with the ideas that you have. So um the way I'm very passionate about women and girls education or trying to end poverty, I share my story with others as well, that this is where I'm coming from and this is why I'm very passionate about this thing. So when people hear my story, they also, some of them also relate to it and be like, okay, because she shared her story, I can also share mine, and we can bring this change together. We can make this impact together. So I'd say that's one of the things that you need to do for you to be able to advocate for anything at all that you're passionate about. It doesn't have to be just gender
Yeah.
justice.
So basically, in summary, it's do it, get started, do it, do it confidently, and don't be afraid to, open up your heart and share your story, because that is what will reach someone else, right?
Very true.
Yes. Love
Yes.
that. I love it, and I agree with it.
Thank you very much. So, for you too, so what is something that inspires you to tell the stories that you tell as an actress? Because storytelling in all mediums can have a huge impact on how audiences view different groups, issues, and movements.
For me, it really is about fulfilling a purpose for which I believe I was created for, which is to help those who cannot help themselves. Um, I was raised by my grandmother. My sister and I didn't have any parents. And so I recognize that had it not been for my grandmother, my life could have turned out completely differently. So I want to be for others that which our grandmother was for us. And it was early on in my high school career when I actually decided that I want to continue with drama that I saw the healing power of storytelling. It was a situation where, I had an outside audience view our exam and have them weep after a performance that I did on a poem that I wrote. It wasn't supposed to be anything fancy. I was just like you said, I was sharing my heart. I was telling my story, and they really connected with that. And so I was like, okay, I can use drama as, a tool for social change. And that's what I set out to do going forward. And so with the stories that we're telling, it's about connecting with people, having people connect with each other, being a voice to the voiceless. Like, again, with the partnership with Paramount Plus, we've got specific pillars that we speak to, which is equity, climate, and health. These are things that aren't commonly talked about in our storytelling spaces, but these are things that, especially for Africa, need a light to shine on them, because some of these things are taboo because of ignorance. And if you don't deal with them, you're unable to change what's happening within your society. And so that is very important for me to be aware of as I, pursue my career.
That's amazing. And I think you can tell stories in different ways, as you said, poetry, that it can
Exactly.
be anything.
Exactly.
Okay. So, all right, that's great.
Okay, cool. And I want to know, because you're so young, you're still studying, but you're heavily involved in so many things. It's not just Girl Up that you're involved with. You have other organizations. I want you to talk about those a little bit, and then tell us, how do you stay, motivated in pursuing that what you're doing, but also how do you maintain a balance in your life with all of these causes that you're so passionate about?
All right, so I really love to work with just different organizations. Anything that involves me giving back to the community and me just bringing change and just bringing change in people's lives is something that I'll always get involved in. So for me, my work with Operation Smile, it just started off like as a volunteer. My school dean just called me aside, and I was like, I thought I was in trouble the first time he called me. And then he was like, I think you should be part of Operation Smile Malawi. They're having a medical mission, and you'd be great, like if you just joined that team. So I joined, and then I was just a student translator, and then I could see what they were doing, and performing free surgeries on people that were born with a cleft and palate condition, and just bringing back the hope that they had lost. And that being something that I'm also passionate about, just bringing change in people's lives, I really got interested in this, and I was like, this is not gonna be my last mission, or like just the first and last mission that I'll attend, and I'm willing to just take part in every single activity that they're having. So I just continued like through the platform that Girl Up had given me. I could fundraise with the Girl Up Club, and then would donate to Operation Smile. So these donations would go to the patients, because they come from all around the country. So we would help them with the little that would have, the little that would get from individuals, and then would help them with that. So if so a lot of people, I would post on my social media, and then people would come in my DM and be like, oh, there's this thing happening and I think you should take part. And every single time I'd be like, yeah, okay, let's do it. So I'm really used to doing these things, and something that always motivates me to continue to do this is my background, my story. So, with everything that I've faced, and me facing them at a very young age, I'm sure that there's also some other young girls like myself that have gone through different challenges, that they don't even know they don't have any hope at all. So I just want to be that person for those people that don't have anyone at all. So that's one of the things that really motivates me to just continue pushing and continue moving.
That's beautiful. And this might sound cliche or cheesy, but you have an amazing smile. Just by the
Thank you
way,
very
you
much.
do. You really, really do.
Thank you. So, Tuso, what does it mean for you to be part of multiple projects involving strong women of color?
It's amazing. Because we all have something of value to add. Unfortunately, history has never been on our side when it comes to giving us the opportunities to do that. But I am surrounded by strong, very capable, very creative, very supportive women, which makes me feel, very humbled, but also very privileged, because I know that this is not the fact for a lot of people. I don't take it for granted. I am constantly, I've put myself in a place where I am open to learning. I never want to feel like I've arrived somewhere. I can always learn from the next person. Like even working with Viola Davis, she's got a wealth of knowledge, but when she comes into a new space, she's open to learning. And so I want to be the same. I never want to feel like, oh no, only I can do A, B, and C. I delegate this, delegate that. It's like, as long as we're living, as long as we're evolving, we're learning and growing. And I'm grateful to have a group of amazing women supporting me and wanting what's best for me, supporting my dreams of wanting to help others in the manner that it's happening.
Thank you, Tuso, for this amazing conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you and getting to know you. Now I guess we can pass it back to our MCs.
It's conversations like that that make me so proud to be a part of the Girl Up community. Thank you so much, Thuso and Promise. That was an incredible conversation. Now, please join me in welcoming our next honoree, Saundarya Nair. Saundarya is a Girl Up teen advisor from India and the vice president of her club, Flames of Justice. She's been an inspiration to her fellow Girl Up leaders through her passion for activism and determination in addressing the issues that she sees keeping us from gender equality. Whether it's presenting at Girl Up Sports Innovation Lab, taking part in the International Human Rights Arts Festival Youth Anthology, menstrual hygiene awareness projects, or other social impact programs to advance gender justice, Saundarya consistently shows her dedication to making her community and the world a better and more just place. Please welcome Saundarya.
Hi everyone. This is a moment of incredulity, gratitude, responsibility, and most of all, inspiration for me. Receiving the Girl Hero Award is not just about the significance of the award itself, but the support I have received from my fellow club members, friends, family, and, of course, the entire Girl Up community. Believe me when I say that it is the most empowering and wholesome community I have ever had the fortune to be a part of. Because nowhere else have I met and befriended so many people from across ages, countries, cultures, genders, and of course, every possible walk of life, who are all united under one shared vision of justice and equity. So, a resounding and heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you, not just for honoring me with this award, but for building me as an activist. To talk a bit about activism, I would like to share a story with all of you. There was a young girl once in a middle class family in coastal India, extremely intelligent, a girl who loved to learn and dream. She was top of her class consistently and aspired to study physics and the secrets of the universe. The day before her diploma exams, however, she received news. Her parents had decided to stop funding her education because they had money to educate only one child, and they chose to spend it on her brother, who wasn't nearly as hardworking or interested in studies as her. She was inconsolable, but her teacher came to her rescue because he was convinced that she was a rare gem and sponsored the money for her to write her exams. Given this last straw, she took everything she had and wrote a whole host of competitive exams in the hope of securing a good job so that she would no longer be dependent on others for assistance. She cleared everything, got the desired job, and went on to earn a respectable living. But she never got to accomplish her dream of studying the cosmos, physics. Years later, she became a mother, and while she had only two children of her own, after the death of her own mother, she was the eldest sibling remaining and assumed the responsibility of educating each and every one of them. She wanted to ensure that her sisters got the chance she never got. So she worked tirelessly, waking up before sunrise to drop her children and younger siblings to school, working hours without rest in her office, coming home to cook and do household chores, and for more than a decade she maintained that schedule. Eventually, she began to live her dreams through her family. Her youngest sister became a reputed doctor. Her only daughter qualified one of the toughest exams in the country to join the administrative services. At a time when women were required to be unmarried and sign a document forbidding them from having children in order to serve the country. But her most joyous moment came when her eldest granddaughter picked up a science encyclopedia at the age of 10 and said, I want to study the secrets of the universe. That granddaughter, the third generation of a woman who refused to bow down to circumstances or relinquish her dreams, now holds a double major in physics and mathematics and is pursuing a PhD. Her youngest granddaughter is here speaking before you all right now. As you can probably tell by now, my journey of activism is inspired from close quarters, beginning with my grandmother, my mother, and my elder sister. I have grown up in the company and guardianship of powerful and brilliant women, each of whom dealt with struggles of their own, from a patriarchal family to an abusive marriage to mental health struggles from being made to feel less than as a visible minority in a male dominated space and an unfamiliar country. And yet each of them has not only survived but thrived on their way to overcoming the obstacles they faced. My activism is born from their legacy. Personally, I believe I have one more source of motivation to continue on this path that is internal. It feels intrinsically wrong when I see girls my age having to struggle for the most basic rights that I enjoy without question. It feels wrong to see girls my age begging on the streets, to see them being married off as mere children, to see them struggling to buy books so that they can study, fighting their own families to become their own persons. And I have never been good at keeping quiet when something feels wrong. At first, I used to feel simply guilty. Why is it that I have the chances to go to school without attention, to never think twice about buying new clothes, never having a care about where my next meal would come from, and having full freedom over what I want to do with my life, while so many girls, just like me, are living in an altogether different world? But then I realized that guilt is useless. It's not going to help the girls, and it's only preventing me from enjoying my own life. And I had a greater realization, which seems so simple now thinking back, which stems from my faith, the culture in which I have been brought up, which is quite simply that everything has a reason. Nothing is without purpose in this universe, nothing is mere chance, even if that underlying purpose isn't immediately clear to us, because nature is often too great for us to understand. What I did know for certain was that if I have been blessed with these resources and opportunities that so many around me and like me are not, then there is a purpose behind that right there. And that purpose for me is to give back, to make sure that I utilize and optimize everything at my disposal to share those resources and opportunities that are being denied to my fellows. And that is when I decided that this is what I want my guiding purpose to be, the utterly simple core value of service and solidarity. That core value could be different for each one of us, and no value is less than another. For some, it may be personal growth, or courage, relationships, or creativity, respect, adventure, or love. On the way through not just my own activism, but the services of my family and friends, I have met some people who have left an unforgettable impression on me. I once met a girl younger than I am now who was married off before she could write her name and who did not even know her age because she wasn't registered at birth as a daughter of her parents. But that girl, she said no. With the help of an NGO, she not only escaped her own illegal marriage, she became a local campaigner and advocated against child marriage for her entire village. Went back to pursue her own education, all the while being unaware of what year she had come into this world. And I met another girl, a survivor of human trafficking who had literally jumped and run away from the brothel she had been kept captive in, with the help of a rescue team, and who joined that team to work on preventing deceit and trafficking of other girls like her. I once heard of a pair of sisters who were so poor that they could not afford separate school uniforms, but so dedicated that they exchanged uniforms each day so that one sister would attend school, teach the other what she learned, and switch places on the next day. So you see, while you are honoring me with this award today, you are truly honoring each one of these real life girl heroes through me, because I never would have embarked on this journey if not for them. Lastly, to cap my activism journey so far, I'd like to end on another note of inspiration and gratitude. When I first saw the list of nominees for this award, I was astounded by the girls who were named. Their actions and achievements made me feel hope, enough to sustain my faith every time I read and hear of atrocities committed on the basis of gender across the world. This award may have been given in my name, but every single one of you, nominee or not, is a hero for me. So thank you and keep inspiring.
I can definitely see why Saundarya is one of our girl heroes. The Girl Up community is a globe-spanning network of incredible, transformative youth leaders. You're getting to hear from just a few of the truly inspiring leaders that I get to learn from and connect with as a Girl Up champion. To get to this group of girl heroes that we're honoring today, we surveyed our global community and got to hear how inspiring each of these trailblazers are to the girls in their communities of activists. Now, let's take a moment to hear about some of the incredible change makers that are making a difference in the Girl Up community.
My girl hero is Mofi. Mofi is my girl hero because of her extensive work in the gender equality field. She's passionate, genuine, and her passion for STEM and education equity is what continues to inspire me.
My girl hero is Beatriz Diniz because she worked in the area of advocacy, being the first Girl Up girl in my country to write a law that mitigates menstrual poverty, inspiring several other girls in Brazil to create laws on the subject. She pioneered the wave of girls in politics demanding their menstrual rights. In this way, she is always creating new ways and strategies to continue fighting for gender equality.
Kavita Rai is my girl hero because from the moment I met Kavita, she had such genuine and sincere thoughts about how to bring the fight for gender equality another step forward, whether that be including more women of color or people from distinct backgrounds. She's so genuine in her conversations and really wants to make sure that all women are heard and all women are part of this movement. So all girls can have an education and so all women can have basic rights in every way.
Hi everyone, I'm Melissa from Mexico. My girl here is Jasmine Mercado, member of Girl of Highly Female from Mexico. She is a real girl here because she makes her passion for science available to all girls and young women in her community, regardless of the barriers and gender gaps that exist in between. In addition, she has developed projects as Educación STEM, which is about the role of organizations in closing the gender gaps in Mexico.
This is why I've been a Girl Up champion since Girl Up launched in 2010. It is endlessly inspiring to see young women supporting each other in their activism journeys. Girl Up leaders across the world are so passionate about the issues impacting their generation that they are reaching across the oceans and continents to connect with each other and build movements together. Our next pair of honorees will be introduced by Girl Up regional leader from India that knows just why their advocacy makes them girl heroes. Please welcome to the stage Rasil to introduce Ilinca and Meena.
Hi everyone, I'm Rasil. I'm a gender and climate activist from New Delhi. I'm also a regional leader here at Girl Up in India for PR and events. But today I'm here and I'm really excited to introduce Ilinca and Meena, our Girl Up honorees. Ilinca Drondu is a standout activist from New Hampshire in the United States. She's passionate about environment justice and how that correlates with girls' empowerment. She has led the Girl Up Greater Boston Coalition and has dedicated countless hours both organizing events for the coalition, a full summit, and providing a platform for young people to be meaningfully engaged in gender equality activism. Over the past year, I've had the pleasure of working with Ilinca for a few Girl Up events about gender and climate. And I can tell you with surety, she is not only dedicated and intelligent, but she is compassionate and leads with empathy and kindness. It's great to have you here, Ilinca, and congratulations, friend. Next up, we have Meena Harris, our next Girl Up honoree. I was actually introduced to Meena in a funny way. My mom gave me a newspaper clipping about her work in gender equality activism, and I've had it up on my bulletin board for a while, so this is special. Meena wears several hats. She wrote a children's book last year titled Ambitious Girl, and it's a prime example of how Meena works and her words not only talk about gender equality, but actively lift others and lift girls to not be afraid of societal expectations, but lead with their own goals and their own ambitions. As I said, she wears multiple hats: entrepreneur, lawyer, author. But we can say with surety that with all of her work in the space of gender and girls' empowerment, she's a veritable change maker. So it's my pleasure to welcome both Ilinca and Meena to the stage and congratulate them as our Girl Up honorees.
Hello. How are you? I'm doing well. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you to Girl Up for having us.
So honored to get to meet you in person. I've been a huge fan of all the incredible things that you do to advance gender equity and representation. And I'm so grateful to be here on behalf of Girl Up, which has been an organization that's provided me with so many opportunities to really raise my voice and be heard. And I'm so grateful to be having this conversation with you today.
Same. Thank you.
So just to start off, as mentioned, you've been involved in law and also entrepreneurship and business. So as someone who was previously working in law, what inspired you to start your business, Phenomenal, and what sparked that switch?
So it's sort of a long, winding, and unexpected journey for me becoming a corporate lawyer to an entrepreneur and a business owner. So I'll spare some of the details of that and try to focus on the theme today, which is around change makers, right, and living our purpose. And quickly, in terms of becoming a lawyer, I grew up in a family of public interest lawyers and public servants, and they were role models for me in showing the power of the law in creating change and fighting for our communities and fighting oppression. And so it's probably no surprise that I went to law school. And while I was practicing law, I quickly realized that it was not for me. And I really, I've always been creative. I've always been entrepreneurial. As a kid, I loved to draw and paint. And it took a while to sort of realize, like, maybe I'm a little different than my family. And, what they do is really important, but, maybe I have a different path. And at the same time, I was also raised to understand my responsibility to make an impact, no matter how big or how small, from wherever I was, and with whatever sphere I was in, to exercise some sort of influence to make positive change. And so I really struggled for a while, even being back in New York, with all these young, inspiring folks. I really struggled as a young lawyer, wondering if I was going to continue practicing here in New York City, and I couldn't do it. But I wanted, to find something that I felt like I enjoyed, but also would allow me to live out that purpose and make an impact. And I kind of did some things on the side and found ways to fill that up, but it really ultimately was the 2016 election that ended up, I think, for a lot of people, being a catalyst to make that leap. And it was still sort of unexpected. It started off as a very small idea, which was a single T-shirt and a 1-month-long campaign to raise money for women's and girl organizations like Girl Up. And 1 month became 3 months, became 6 months, became almost 5 years. Here we are today, and are now building a media and entertainment company that still carries forward that mission and purpose of centering women and underrepresented communities. So, I think to me the lesson is that all of us have a role to play, no matter how small, and no one can do everything, but everyone can do something, whether it's your full-time job or something that you're doing on the side. Each of us can contribute in our own way, and so. Some people, that's going to law school, maybe it's running for office. For me, it started off as like a little T-shirt, and it's been really fun. So I'm really just excited to be here with all of you, and it's also an opportunity to get to meet other incredible women like yourself.
Thank you so much, and I agree. I think the biggest takeaway that I have from my time with Girl Up is that there isn't one way to be a leader, that whatever your contribution is, whatever form that takes, it can be incredibly powerful in sparking change. And I love how your journey has just always had gender equality at the heart, but it's had so many aspects to it.
Yeah, well, thank you, and I'm excited to hear about your journey. So you are involved in policy making, and the policy making aspect of advocacy, specifically around renewable energy. And something that I think about a lot is the next generation, and how important, obviously, youth and young people are to policy making and making sure that we have lasting change that not only impacts my life and my children's life, but yours and so on. How have you made your voice heard? How did you get into renewable energy? And what is your advice? What is your advice for my 4- and 6-year-olds who are also interested in climate and energy?
First of all, that's amazing. There's this one quote by Malala that mentions that one child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. And that was very much the case for me. As I was starting out high school, I took a marine biology class. And one of our challenges for our midterm was to find an issue that we cared about related to the ocean or sustainability, and to create a project that was related to not only presenting that issue, but finding solutions. And I chose the issue of plastic pollution. And then my teacher encouraged me to take a look at legislation that was being presented in the State House in New Hampshire, where I'm from, and to identify any that seemed relevant to my project and actually apply what I learned, because all those solutions were just sitting in a PowerPoint that I presented in front of my class. And it was that encouragement from my teacher that sparked my passion for legislative advocacy, because I then found legislation related to plastic pollution. And I remember talking to my mom and asking her, what am I getting myself into, as I pulled together my testimony and I got to the State House. But it sparked a journey that I'm really grateful for. Because when I walked into that room, I saw that every single person sitting at that table, every legislator, was a man and was older. And it was a very daunting atmosphere, and I definitely felt very much out of place, like I didn't belong, especially as one of the only young people, especially a young woman. But after I spoke, I realized that if I hadn't, that perspective would have been completely absent from the policy-making conversation. And it was actually my generation, and especially girls, who are like the most impacted by the policies that are being talked about, especially as it relates to climate action. And so I'm grateful for Girl Up because it's allowed me to get involved in advocacy for climate policy, but also gender equality at not only the local level, but federally and at the UN level. And I think my advice would be also very similar to what you were saying, that whether you are contributing in a way that's traditionally associated with activism, like speaking up for legislation, or whether you're researching or writing, whatever contribution you have is incredibly important. And I definitely look for local legislation, look for policies that align with your interests, but if they don't exist, feel free to reach out and make it happen, because I've been so grateful to work with representatives and actually create the legislation that I did.
I love that, and something that's really important that I'm hearing too is that you had not only access to this class that inspired you, and you had a teacher that encouraged you to continue with that, right? And so there's so many folks in our communities that are also so essential to this, so that's really inspiring.
Girls' education.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
When writing your children's books, which also are really incredibly inspiring and focus on educating the next generation, you've mentioned that you prioritize creating characters of color and characters that will represent the variety of girls who read them. And how did the lack of representation affect you when you were growing up? How were you inspired to kind of fill that void that you saw in media?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of talked about this a little bit already, which is that I now, as an adult, especially as a parent, realize what a unique home I grew up in. And my honest answer is that I didn't really appreciate the sort of societal lack of representation until I got into the real world, because I joke that growing up in my house was sort of like the opening scene of the Wonder Woman movie. It's just like all these strong women like running around, helping each other. It was just like a family of women. That's all I knew. And I joke that the idea of men in power, like, I didn't know what that was. Not until, I went off to college and really kind of, started getting into the real world. And it was really actually becoming a parent that inspired me to write kids' books, and in part being influenced by seeing the lack of representation and diversity in children's books. I was a new mom and was reading to my now older daughter, and all the classics, Goodnight Moon and Brown Bear and all these lovely books, and started to wonder where the little black girl characters were that looked like my daughter, and they just weren't there. This is now a study that was done in 2018, and we've made a ton of progress since then, but I'll share that the study found that there are, or were at that time, more children's books that had main characters that were animals than children's books that had human characters that were Black, Latinx, Asian, and Hispanic, or I already said Hispanic, Black, underrepresented communities combined, BIPOC communities combined, meaning there were more books that had animals as main characters than actual people of color, right? And as a parent, we would sometimes go grab a brown marker and color in the skin of the character. We were changing the pronouns from he to she to they, right? And it was just really seeing the power of literature and children's literature, and understanding that, again, I grew up in a really unique way, but books and family, right, are some of the earliest ways that children start to see the world and start to, or not see themselves represented in the world. So that was really what was a huge inspiration to me in writing kids' books, and it's something that I thought would be kind of similar to my story. Like, I thought it was going to be a one-off kind of side fun thing, really, for my family, for my daughters. And it turns out it's kind of fun, and there's still a lot more work to do. We've made a ton of progress just in the last 3 to 5 years, I would say, since that study in 2018. I'm very proud to be among sort of a new next generation of many authors and illustrators of color, but the industry, to your point about what legislators often look like, it's still very old and white, and from authors to illustrators, and there's a lot more to do. And so I'm writing more books, which is really fun.
That's amazing. I've been reading them as well, and they are inspirational, I think, no matter what your age is, because the messages in them resonate so much. And definitely as someone who was raised on books, and it's so powerful because it really shapes the way you grow up and the way you see yourself in the world.
Exactly. And every child should have that opportunity, every girl, every young person, and not have the privilege, frankly, of growing up in such a unique way, right? Where they're sort of just around you all the time, but to be able to access tools, and for parents to have those tools to raise the next generation. So, going back to climate action, what you're really passionate about, you talked about your class, you talked about your teacher and the first experience of advocating before a legislature, but what was it that really inspired you to advocate for climate around gender, right? We know that climate is an intersectional issue that touches on race and gender and all these other inequities that our communities experience, but how did you get into it from that angle?
Well, I think also on the topic of representation, when looking at the way that climate is portrayed in the media and by politicians, it has a very limited sort of narrative that's almost dehumanized. So if you look at reports about climate, they'll have graphs with temperature data or pictures of melting ice caps. And when you look at climate solutions, they often talk a lot about solar panels or composting or abstract future technologies. But I think although those are very important aspects of the climate crisis, there are so many people who are being affected, and the human aspect of the climate crisis is what has really resonated with me and inspired me to take action. And then I think when you envision a climate activist, there is that chance that you will think of a young woman, because young women have really been at the forefront of the climate movement, from Greta Thunberg to Shia Bastida and Vanessa Nakate. And then when I organize climate strikes and protests in my community, I look out and see that it would just be a sea of young women's faces, all of them bringing and uniting their communities. And so to see that sort of disconnect between the way that the climate crisis is portrayed, but like what was actually happening on the ground, was very jarring to me. And it motivated me to look for that connection between gender and climate. And it's very much there. 12 million girls each year are expected to be out of school and unable to complete their education because of the effects of the climate crisis. And then a study by the Malala Fund found that if every girl worldwide had access to 12 years of quality education and reproductive health care, that would actually be 4 times as effective as switching to solar power in terms of emissions reduced. So I think it's essential that we combine gender and climate and act on them together. And I'm really grateful for Girl Up because it's allowed me to bring together those intersectional perspectives.
Was there a specific event that happened that really sort of catalyzed this for you?
I think definitely organizing climate strikes and just seeing the audience and seeing how many girls there were there who were so passionate about it. And of course, seeing that not reflected in the legislators, in the policies, because I would look at how gender and climate were treated as very, very separate, but I think that it's powerful to act on them together.
Right. When you think of, legislators, they're representatives. They literally, their job is to represent, exactly. Right? Whether or not you literally look like or have the experience of your constituents, but that often when you don't have that experience, right, those experiences are not considered, and they're therefore left out. So, yeah.
You've always been integrating gender into your work, whether it was as a lawyer or a businesswoman or an entrepreneur or a writer. What has allowed you and inspired you to keep advocating for gender justice? And do you have any advice for people who are hoping to integrate that into their future career?
Yeah, I think I would build on what we talked about earlier, right? Just wherever you are, no matter how small or big, think about what kind of impact you can make from your own sphere of influence with your own unique skills. I would say that, in terms of my continuing to do the work, I think about what Nigel said, and that often, this is hard work. It can feel overwhelming and defeating often. It often can feel like 2 steps forward, one step back, right? And you got to stick with it. And for me, it is, understanding that there's more work to do. It is, as we talked about, becoming a parent and knowing that the work that I'm doing, that you're doing, is going to impact the world that my girls grow up in and that the next generation grows up in. That is, not just about will they have a better shot or a more level playing field, but also, are they going to be breathing quality air? Are they going to, right? Are they going to experience unprecedented weather events? This stuff is here and it's now. And as a now older person, I really, think about all of these incredible women, right? Many of whom are in this room today from Detroit. You mentioned climate activists. I'm thinking about Miss Flint, from Flint to Delhi to Tehran, right? And in terms of what we're seeing right now, standing up and speaking out, and many of them risking their lives, right? And Girl Up is a global organization, and I think it's important to also note that all of this is connected, right? What we are seeing in Tehran is connected to what we are seeing here in the United States, which is an unprecedented healthcare crisis and attack on women's bodily autonomy, right? And wanting to prevent women from accessing abortion care. It's the same as wanting to force women to change their appearance, or right? It's the same stuff that is about control and power imbalance, and it takes bravery, it takes courage, and we're seeing that right now. And that inspires me. It's hard. You said this, Nigel, right? I mean, it's inspiring. It's also like, how in the year of our Lord 2022 is this still happening, and we're still just making these sort of seemingly small steps forward, right? When there's so much at stake. And if we don't do it, who's going to do it?
Well, thank you so much. It was so wonderful and inspiring to speak to you, and I just think that message of representation, but also the interconnectedness of our world and all of these issues is so much at the heart of what Girl Up does, and it's been so wonderful to hear your perspective. And I definitely look forward to continuing to advocate for that in the future. And once again, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for all you do. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
I am endlessly inspired by these powerful and insightful women. Listening to Meena and Ilinca talk about rewriting narratives that have been used to limit the potential and accomplishments of women really highlights for me the necessity of supporting girl leaders early, so we can break those cycles that tell girls and women that their voices shouldn't be at the forefront. Now I'm honored to introduce our next honoree to the virtual stage. Please join me in welcoming Esmeralda Esparza. Esmeralda is a fierce Girl Up leader from Mexico, leading her Girl Up club and coalition. She has inspired the Girl Up community through her personal story as a person with motor disabilities and an advocate for the rights of all people to equal opportunities and rights. Esmeralda has represented her community at the UN's Day of the Girl Summit and received state and international recognition for her activism on gender equality in education. She is a leader in a community of leaders and has shown her commitment to advancing the rights and opportunities of girls and women everywhere. I am thrilled to introduce our girl hero, Esmeralda.
Hola, soy Esmeralda Esparza, tengo 21 años y soy presidenta de la coalición Girl Up Aguascalientes, líder de Girl Up Butterflies Club y mi próximo club llamado Girl Up Autism Foundation. Agradezco a la comunidad Girl Up por otorgarme este reconocimiento, el cual representa esta lucha por la igualdad de género, la inclusión de las personas con discapacidad y la educación, al igual que muchos otros. Este reconocimiento es de todas y es de nuestra comunidad. A lo largo de mi camino por Girl Up, he trabajado especialmente por la discapacidad y por la igualdad de género, la discriminación y las injusticias que día a día recibimos por ser mujeres y por ser una persona con capacidades diferentes. Hemos logrado resultados favorables y que más personas conozcan sus trabajos. Los logros más grandes que tuve en estos años fue participar en el Día Internacional de la Niña en 2019, ser promotora de los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible, al igual que pertenecer en una de las coaliciones más grandes de México, y que toda esta experiencia haya ayudado a abrir una fundación llamada Autism Foundation, en la que trabajamos en contra de la violencia en el noviazgo y en la mujer, aliviar la discriminación, ayudar en la literatura y dar a conocer la igualdad de género. Esta fundación fue hecha desde la idea de la creación de mi libro llamado Autism, el cual fue una pieza clave para estar aquí. Tener una oportunidad tan grande acompañándome cada momento en mis proyectos es algo totalmente maravilloso. Desde las oficinas centrales, desde las nacionales hasta mi equipo. Es muy satisfactorio y hasta especial creer en mi trabajo y creer en la posibilidad de lograr metas que proponemos en la coalición. Así que muy pronto tendremos proyectos nunca antes vistos en Girl Up, donde nos gustaría que todas estén ahí. Será absolutamente grande. Durante todo mi trabajo en Girl Up hemos visto por las niñas de nuestro estado, al igual que todas las niñas de nivel internacional y también en el país. Hemos trabajado muchísimo en las áreas STEM, donde llevamos talleres de robótica a las comunidades que no pueden acceder a este tipo de talleres. Al igual hemos ayudado muchísimo en la educación dando talleres de literatura y también becas en universidades por esas niñas que no pueden llegar a esos estudios y ha sido un proceso muy complicado en ellas, tanto por las discriminaciones como por el apoyo económico que no tienen. Hemos también trabajado con personas con discapacidad, ayudándolas en su proceso de medicamentos y todo lo que conlleva cubrir esos temas. También hemos ayudado muchísimo, muchísimo a las niñas con el tema de la igualdad de género, que es algo que nosotros hemos promovido desde hace más de 5 años, que es lo que llevamos aquí en la coalición. Hemos trabajado muchísimo también en el tema de medio ambiente, ayudando en brigadas de limpieza en las comunidades. También hemos entregado muchísimos kits de educación menstrual, donde también les damos talleres a las niñas. Y también hemos realizado muchísimos talleres en cuanto a la defensa personal, prevención de la violencia, donde nosotros hemos colaborado con asociaciones que se dedican 100% a eso, también en salud mental, y también donde nosotros estamos apoyando con asociaciones de niñas que han salido de aquí de Kerala, donde las hemos apoyado 100% en sus proyectos. También hemos hecho que las chicas tengan una asesoría especializada para abrir proyectos, fundaciones, en este caso, en mi caso, que hemos abierto Autism Foundation por parte de la coalición Girl, y hemos realizado el 100% de los talleres que nosotros hemos planeado a lo largo de este año. Tenemos varios proyectos, que es uno que me tiene totalmente emocionada, que es para ayudar a las mujeres emprendedoras, donde también nosotros les vamos a otorgar herramientas para poder abrir su primer negocio y que puedan estar dándoles trabajo a las chicas que no tienen acceso a ellas. Ha sido un camino muy largo por parte de Girl. Han sido muchísimos premios que hemos obtenido a lo largo de estos 5 años, y ha sido un momento muy, muy grato que varios de ustedes están viendo esto y conociendo nuestro trabajo, y que todas ustedes sean parte de esta historia que hemos escrito a lo largo del tiempo, para que más que tengan mucha inspiración en esto y que puedan seguir siendo esas heroínas que tanto hemos visto a lo largo del tiempo y que queremos que sigan creciendo aún más.
Esmeralda reminds me why we do what we do to support Girl Up and this community of changemakers. I want to now introduce the Executive Director of Girl Up, Melissa Kilby, to talk about our future and why the world needs Girl Up now more than ever. Every day, we are witnessing the intersecting crisis that this world faces, but Girl Up is responding, preparing youth today to be innovative leaders of a better tomorrow. With the training, tools, and community that Girl Up provides to girls everywhere, from Mumbai to Melbourne, from Lima to Lagos, the Girl Up team is directly fueling a movement of empowered and confident girl leaders. This is how we build a gender justice future, friends. By supporting organizations like Girl Up, who are already doing the work to prepare girls and women to lead. Because when girls and women are in positions of influence, when they know how to step into their power and share it, they work to create a more just and equitable world for everyone. Please join me in warmly welcoming my friend, Melissa Kilby.
Thank you, Monique. You are and always will be one of my girl heroes. I am so excited to be here with you all today, the 10th Annual International Day of the Girl, and to celebrate our 5th Annual Girl Hero Awards. When IDG was first celebrated in October 2012, the world was just beginning to understand and honor the power and potential of girls. At Girl Up, we've always known that girls, our Girl Up leaders, our girl heroes around the world, are our best bet when facing any challenge. And wow, have we as a global community, and well, all of humanity, been faced with challenge after challenge these past few years especially. And as we witness and are each impacted by the world's failed leadership, with each overlapping and intersecting crisis we are asked to face again and again, I, like many of you, am angry, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, I'm tired, and yet I'm still hopeful. I see an answer. I know the solution. Better leaders, better leadership. And guess what? I know some great leaders, about 150,000 of them in more than 130 countries, actually. We've heard from 4 of these very leaders today: Promise, Saundarya, Esmeralda, and Ilinca. I hear from our leaders every day. These Girl Up leaders will lead us to a better world, a more just, peaceful, and safe world. Because our Girl Up leaders and this global community, all of you, already lead us better today. You are the answer, the power, and the potential. Each of you, powered by the global community you are a part of, supported by Girl Up, and driven by your own commitment to social justice, to gender justice, are showing the world a better way to lead, a more inclusive, fair, and compassionate way to be and lead in this world. Girl Up is here to grow your leadership, to amplify your voices, to highlight your advocacy, and to stand side by side with each of you as a global movement. Last month, we celebrated 12 years of Girl Up after launching in 2010. 12 years, 150,000 Girl Up leaders, 130 countries, countless actions taken for gender justice. And guess what? We're still just getting started. As Girl Up alumni step into the world as adults, working, leading, moving into positions of decision-making and power, we know the face and focus of leadership will change. And we know if we can build this movement even bigger, reach more young leaders in more corners of the world, that change will come faster and you will all be more effective. We need you, all of you. Our goal is to grow Girl Up and engage 1 million Girl Up leaders in this movement for gender justice by 2030. 1 million girl heroes in the world. 1 million Ilincas, Promises, Esmeraldas, and Saundaryas, leading the world to a better place for all of us. I hope you will join us because Girl Up is change. Girl Up leaders are better leaders for us all. And each one of you are my girl heroes. You are Girl Up, and we know when girls rise, we all rise.
Wow, Melissa. I can't wait to be part of Girl Up's next phase and keep engaging with these incredible youth leaders that are leading us toward a better world. They are standing tall in their power and their boldness, vision, and light. It is so beautiful to witness. With trailblazers like these on the move, I know the world is in good hands. Well, I want to thank you all who have joined us here tonight in honoring our tremendous 2022 Girl Heroes, who are each making such huge strides in driving gender justice forward. Thank you to Meena, Thuso, Esmeralda, Ilinca, Promise, and Saundarya for your brilliance and your passion. I have been inspired by all of our speakers today, and I hope that all of you in our audience have as well. And if you've been moved by today's events and are in a position to do so, I want to ask you to consider supporting this incredibly important and impactful organization with a donation. Girl Up is truly doing the work in preparing young leaders to address the world's most pressing issues. We need these girls, and they need you. Finally, thank you to our supporters and co-chairs, and a huge thank you once again to tonight's presenting sponsor, PacSun. We honestly couldn't have honored these incredible trailblazers without you. Until next year, take care everyone, and remember, it only takes one spark to ignite a girl-led blaze.